Guys, I'm going to try to be as nice as I possibly can here, but it's going to be a bit of a challenge. But regardless, DerekJ Speaks, back to you once again, here this time to cover Night 2 of WrestleMania 39, once again live from SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, California. Just went off the air for the third straight year in a row. Your tribal chief closes out WrestleMania once again as the undisputed WWE Universal Champion after beating the winner of the 2023 Royal Rumble, Cody Rhodes, in what was a really good main event, but broke down into every other Roman Reigns main event you will ever see. Once again, we had a ref bump. Once again, we had a shit ton of interference. And once again, it is an outside force, whether it be the Usos, whether it be Paul Heyman, whether it be Solo Sikoa. In this case, it was a combination of Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa. Once again, someone interferes, and that provides Roman Reigns with the opening to retain his championship. As I said, this main event was really good. I was digging it. It felt like a big time match. Cody Rhodes, super over in this stadium. He had his wife there, his daughter Liberty was there, his mom, his sister, even brought in -1, if you're an AEW fan, Brody Lee Jr., the son of Brody Lee / Luke Harper, for you WWE fans, John Huber. All these people, and here I am thinking there's no way Cody's gonna lose in front of his daughter and in front of Brody Lee Jr. No way. Well, he did. But I will give him credit. He put on a hell of a performance in this match. He and Roman both went out there and they had a match that was worthy of the WrestleMania main event spot. These two have never wrestled each other in this incarnation of their characters, so you don't know what to expect when the two of them go out there face to face in the WrestleMania main event. But one thing about Roman in these big matches is, more often than not, he does tend to deliver in a huge way. And same goes for Cody Rhodes, who is no slouch himself. He had plenty of big-time pay-per-view matches in AEW, and he came through and delivered in those matches too. The two of them meshed very well together in this match. They had really great chemistry, and they were telling a really good story here. And things were building very nicely to a happy ending. But clearly, we can't have two straight nights of happy endings. We had the happy ending the last night with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens beating the Usos and winning the tag team titles. Apparently, it was too much to ask to get a happy ending tonight, too. But it just sucks because they're having this great match. Of course, they're kicking out of each other's finishers. Cody Rhodes became, up to this point, I believe, the first man to break Roman Reigns' guillotine submission hold. And that got a huge reaction from the crowd. We had different points where they hit a spear on each other, kick out, crossroads, kick out. Roman went through the announce table at one point. A lot of big things happen in this match. A Superman punch gets countered into a pedigree from Cody Rhodes. Get kicked out of that too. We had the figure 4 leg lock get reversed. A bunch of big things happen in this match. But eventually, as it tends to happen in most Roman Reigns matches, the referee accidentally gets knocked down and the referee is out. And there was a weird, slow period of time here where nothing was happening. Usually, the interference happens right away, but this time, things were kind of on hold, but the crowd was silent because they were just waiting to see who was going to come out and interfere. And sure enough, it was the Usos, the former tag team champions. They came out, double super kick to Cody Rhodes, hit the 1D, laid him out, and then out of nowhere, out of the crowd, came the new Undisputed Tag Team Champions, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They ran off the Usos. They even hit their own finishers on Roman Reigns. Hit the stunner. Sami hit him with the haluva kick. And then they brawled with the Usos out of the crowd. Cody crawled over for the slow count. The referee got back up, but it was only good for a 2 count. And then they do the yay boos, shots back and forth. Roman goes for the Superman punch, but it gets countered, and Cody starts throwing the dusty punches, and he hits him with the bionic elbow. And in a very similar sight as the ending to the Cody Rhodes-Seth Rollins match at WrestleMania last year, he does all that, and then he hits him with a crossroads. He holds on to him, carries him over, and hits him with a second crossroads. And as he's gearing up to hit that third one, Paul Heyman gets up on the apron. He's talking to the referee, distracting him. Ref has his back turned. Cody, while holding Roman Reigns, ends up dragging him over to the corner. And Solo Sikoa, the same Solo Sikoa who got ejected earlier in the match, so he left. He managed to weasel his way back out here, got up on the apron, and hit Cody Rhodes with the Samoan spike. And then he faded away, and Roman bounced off the ropes a couple of times, gained momentum, hit Cody with what was probably the second, maybe third, I think it was the second spear of the night, and put him down for the 1-2-3. And like I said, Roman Reigns is still your undisputed champion, and is basically all but guaranteed to make it to 1,000 days as champion. The main event, the match itself, was really great. I thought Cody looked great out there. Roman was great out there. Everyone played their parts as well as they could. But my God, it's to the point of nausea with these Roman Reigns main events, with the constant interference and the match ending with this interference. This big main event match, this big match has been built up for several months now. This big encounter with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. It ends with Solo Sikoa hitting Cody with a Samoan spike behind the referee's back, and then Roman hits him with a spear, and that's it. I'll be honest with you, when that happened, I thought, oh, this is going to make for a dramatic near fall here. Like Cody, like it might be a bridge too far with the kickouts, but it's going to make for a very dramatic near fall here. But nope, Cody stayed down, shoulders down, looking up at the lights, and Roman won. And it's exhausting. It is tiring. I was saying for days leading up to this match that I cannot stomach a third straight year of Roman Reigns walking out of WrestleMania as the champion. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And I don't even want to make it seem like I am pissed because Roman Reigns is still the champion. I'm not happy about it from a standpoint of me being a fan of Cody Rhodes, me seeing this entire bloodline story playing out for the last several months and even longer than that, and seeing there be a next step, a new chapter on the horizon in this story that does not necessarily need Roman Reigns to be the champion to push it forward. But clearly they felt differently, and they kept the championship on Roman. I have no direct issue with that. Roman Reigns, when he says he's in God mode, he says he's the best in the world, he says all these big things about himself in these promos, and sometimes out of character too, he means it. He backs it up. He goes out there. He feels like a true final boss. He feels like a big deal. He feels like the guy. WWE was pushing that idea on us for so many years. Finally now, right now, he feels like that. He has felt like that for a very long time. He is a beyond made man. He is the guy in this company. He is the guy in professional wrestling. And to keep the championship on him right now, I don't have a direct issue with that. Did I want to see Cody Rhodes win? Yes. Because I thought to myself, up to this point, there have been very few men who have come up, who have stepped up, and have gone up against Roman Reigns and who look like a legit threat to take that championship from him. The problem with Roman Reigns being this unstoppable is that everyone else looks so far beneath him. But finally, Cody Rhodes, who came in last year, had this big special moment. He's been over this entire time. Even when he disappeared for almost half the year with the injury, he came back at the Royal Rumble. And all these months, he's been super over. He's been clicking with the crowd, and he goes out there in the main event of WrestleMania over big time in front of the fake 80,000 number that they said. And to see him go out there and lose, it does sting. Now, I think Cody Rhodes he'll be okay. He'll be fine. He can recover from this. There is a story to tell with Cody to build him back up to get back to that spot eventually. Hell, he lost the match due to outside interference, so he has a built-in excuse right there to eventually get a match. But it's funny, I think back years ago when Roman Reigns was the forced babyface trying to go up against Brock Lesnar and take the championship from him, and he failed countless times, and Brock Lesnar had this stranglehold on that championship. You fast forward now, Roman Reigns has that very same stranglehold, only it's even worse than the one Brock Lesnar had. Because at least Brock only had one belt. Roman has the only belt in the entire company. And it's just at a point where I just don't know what else can you do with Roman Reigns as the champion. What else is there to do? There is plenty of stories still left to tell with the bloodline, with Jey Uso, with the Usos in general. There is so much great storytelling left on the table, but it just did not need to have Roman Reigns as the champion to get there. And now the whole thing, a lot of people who were pushing for Roman to win, a lot of their points was that he needs to make it to 1,000 days as champion. He's this close to making it to 1,000 days as champion, as if that's this big thing. But hey, they're gonna make it now. Ain't like Roman Reigns is losing on Raw tomorrow night. He's not going to lose next week. He's not losing at Backlash. I'll be surprised if he's even wrestling at Backlash. I don't know if by the time they make it to the King and Queen of the Ring show in Saudi Arabia, if that'll be it. But it'll either be at or after that show. But definitely by the time we get to Money in the Bank over the summer, Roman Reigns will have reached 1,000 days as champion. And if that's what they were waiting for this whole time, if they sacrificed Cody Rhodes' momentum, and if they gave us that shit finish to an otherwise really good main event just to get him to 1,000 days, it's a damn shame. It's very upsetting. Now, who is the next person to take the championship from Roman? Like I said, I still think there is a shot that Cody can do it. If you tell the story right, you can build Cody back up to eventually get back to that championship match. You know, they've shown lists of all the guys that Roman has beaten so far in this run, and he really has beaten everyone there is to beat. But I will say, there is one name on that list that he beat them, but it wasn't a decisive victory as it was with almost everyone else, and that's Seth Rollins. They had one match during this run with Roman as champion, and it ended via disqualification. And I believe Seth was the one who actually won that match by disqualification. So Roman Reigns didn't even win the match technically. Seth Rollins is super over. I mean, the crowd loves singing the man's song, but there's a lot of Seth Rollins defenders out there who really would love to see him go up against Roman Reigns. And then, of course, there's the Jey Uso fans. This story started with Jey Uso back in 2020. It would be very fitting for it to circle back around to that. I was pushing for that. I just didn't think the championship needed to be involved because I don't see Jey Uso as being a top-level champion right now. And maybe if that's the direction they want to go in, maybe over these next couple of weeks, couple of months, they can build that up and they can make me believe that Jey Uso is going to be that guy who will beat Roman Reigns and who you can build the company around. That's the thing people forget. Yeah, Jey Uso will get the moment. He'll get the big pop that one night. But then after that, what's left? Who's he going to feud with? How are you going to build the company around Jey Uso? I just don't think that they view Jey Uso in that way. But hey, we'll see. I don't know if Roman's going to be on Raw tomorrow night. I don't know if Cody's going to be there. But one thing's for sure, we're going to be watching a lot of Raws and a lot of SmackDowns once again without a champion. And Roman Reigns, the reigns of terror continues. As for the rest of this show, we did have some really good stuff on this show, but it's easy to say this night did not compare at all to night one. This was a huge step down in comparison to night one. It was not without its great moments, though, such as the triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship. My God, this match was fantastic. This was incredible. It was brutal. A lot of chops, a lot of caved-in chests from Gunther, from Drew McIntyre, from Sheamus. It was a brutal match, and the fans were going crazy for the entire match. Up to that point, they had already seen two matches that were just so dull and uneventful. So this was a breath of fresh air on this show, and this match was fantastic. What does Sheamus say? Banger after banger. Add another banger to that list. This match was great. It had a shocking finish. Roman Reigns was not the only final boss who retained their championship on this show. We also had Gunther retain his championship on this show as well. After Sheamus and Drew McIntyre were going at it for a couple of minutes, Gunther was suspiciously absent from the equation, and that scared me. And then my fears were realized much later. But Drew and Sheamus were going at it. Sheamus delivers one big bro kick, takes down Drew McIntyre, goes for the cover, and then out of nowhere, Gunther comes flying off the top rope with a giant splash. He picks up Sheamus, hits him with a powerbomb onto Drew McIntyre's back, and then he picks up McIntyre, hits him with a powerbomb, and gets the 1-2-3. Now, I'm not going to complain too much. This really is just a case of me as purely as a fan loving Sheamus and really wanting to see him finally win the Intercontinental Championship. It's the one championship the guy has not won that really means a lot to him. I know that story. I know it in my head. He's told that story both on and off screen, and I really wanted to see him win. But I won't complain too much about Gunther retaining the championship here. I didn't complain that much about Roman retaining the championship. I have my issues with it, but at the end of the day, that wasn't my problem with that match. My problem with that match is that finish sucked. It was a horrible finish to that match. The finish to this match was really good. It was a great finish to an even greater match. And Gunther, continuing his reign as Intercontinental Champion, got no issues with me. Whether he's Intercontinental Champion or not, towards the end of the year, Gunther will be in world title contention. The dude is too fucking good. Speaking of too fucking good, we also had a great women's championship match on this show. Second night in a row, we had a great women's championship match for a feud that has been awful. Only in this case, on this night, it was the feud that was worse. That being Asuka and Bianca Belair. The build-up for this match heading into this show has been awful. But I knew, just as well as a lot of other people, that you have Asuka and you have Bianca Belair, two extremely talented women who can go out there and put on a damn good match if given the time and given the opportunity. And that's exactly what the hell they went out there and did. They had a great match. I give the edge to the Charlotte Rhea Ripley match from last night, but this match was still really good in its own right. The closing sequence of this whole match was a crazy trip as Asuka sprayed mist intending to get Bianca in the face, but Bianca ducked out of the way. And then Asuka went and threw a spin kick. Bianca ducked. She swung her braid at Asuka. Asuka ducked that, and she captured her, locked her in the armbar. Bianca was struggling and fighting her way out of it, and then eventually she got into a position where she was able to get Asuka onto her shoulders, and then she slowly started to power her way up, and then she hit Asuka with the KOD, and she retained her Raw Women's Championship. A year-long reign. Today, or yesterday at this point, marked 1 full year for Bianca as the champion. All these champions who have been champion for a year, for 200-something days, 300 days, 900-something days, it's crazy. But Bianca, champion for a year, once again, she's still champion. And I thought the entrances were great. I thought the entrance for Bianca was great here. She had the Divas of Compton, this young girls dance crew. They were out there performing and stepping and dancing for Bianca's entrance. I thought it was cool. It was badass. We also had a really good Hell in a Cell match on this show between Brood Edge, who was only Brood Edge for about 15 seconds in his entrance, and Demon Balor, who had smoke and purple shit on himself. The match started really great. The match ended pretty strong too. But there was a little middle portion in there where the match came to a halt because the worst thing imaginable happened. Finn Balor started to bleed. At one point, Edge chucked a ladder right into Finn Balor's face. Balor went down. The camera, the production crew clearly gave a direction to not shoot Finn Balor and not show him on camera because apparently he was bleeding. Now, I didn't see any fan cam footage showing Balor bleeding, but I mean, that was clearly what the commentators were saying. You could see blood stains on the mat a little bit later on. But the camera crew, they were instructed not to show Balor on TV. And the match came to a halt because the referee called for the doctors to come in, rush into the cell, and patch up Finn Balor. They put some adhesive on him. I think they stapled him up. They were tending to his cut. And eventually the match restarted. Honestly, I don't even know what to tell you. It could have been stopped for maybe 2 minutes. It felt like 5. Either way, completely unnecessary. One, it shows you the clear difference between WWE and AEW in terms of their rules regarding blood. So there's that. But it's a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania. There's no way that cut was so bad that Balor couldn't have been trying to fight through it and fight out of it. The commentators were saying, I think Corey Graves had mentioned that Balor was trying to get away from the doctors and he was trying to get back into it. But I guess it was to no avail. Maybe he was just kayfabing it. Or maybe Finn Balor legitimately was trying to do that. I don't know. But it sucks that the match had to come to a screeching halt for this. And it really killed the momentum of the match. They tried their best. They continued on with the match. They did a lot of other big spots. At one point, Balor had Edge laid out on a table, and he was going for the coup de grace. But then he leaped off the top turnbuckle and instead went onto the side of the cell wall and then came crashing down. But Edge moved, and Balor crashed through the table. So that was great. That was a cool spot there. I would have been pissed if he had hit the move and then Edge kicked out, seeing what the finish was, which was Edge hitting Balor with a concerto and getting the win. This also irritated me. The last time we saw the Demon compete on the main roster was at Extreme Rules in 2021, and he fell flat on his face off the turnbuckle after convulsing on the floor a little bit earlier, and he got beat by Roman Reigns. We haven't seen the Demon since. I was perfectly fine not seeing him. After that, I didn't miss him. But they went through the great trouble of bringing him back, putting Balor back in the makeup, having him stick his tongue out and crawl around and show smoke and all that kind of stuff. Fine, cool, whatever. Then you put him in this match, he bleeds, you stop the entire fucking match just to patch him up. You have a Hell in a Cell match with a character called the Demon, and then when the Demon bleeds in this Hell in a Cell match, you have to stop the whole fucking thing for 5 minutes just to patch him up. Okay, I understand safety and all that, but still, come on, guys. And then he goes and loses to Edge, a man who clearly did not need this win. I know he doesn't have very many matches left in him, but he did not need to win this match. But whatever. At this moment, I don't care if they bring the Demon back. Whether they do or whether they do not, I truly do not care. If you ask me, I never want to see the Demon ever again. What's the point? What's the point of him putting on the makeup and doing this whole thing if he goes out there and loses? Now, he didn't look as idiotic here as he did at Extreme Rules 2 years ago, but same difference. He went out there and lost. This whole dramatic transformation into the Demon, and he goes out there and loses. And I know the blood thing is out of the performer's control. That's more real shit, but even still, it's like this character is called the Demon, and you have to stop a match called a Hell in a Cell match just to patch him up. Unless he broke a blood vessel or something like that, get the hell out of the ring and just let them fight. Whatever. I'm desensitized because of AEW, and we get fucking blood every week on that show. But whatever. Elsewhere on the card, we had a bunch of undercard matches that really weren't all that good. The opening match was Brock Lesnar and Omos. The match many of us were dreading turned out to be just okay. It wasn't surprisingly good. It wasn't laughably bad. It was just okay. It was mediocre. Omos dominated majority of the match until Brock Lesnar finally made a big comeback, hit him with the F5, and got the win. Brock, out of there. He was probably already back on his jet by the time the bell rang for the next match, which was the Women's Showcase match. The Fatal 4-Way Women's Showcase match. Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan, Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, Natalya and Shotzi Blackheart, and Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. This was nothing like the men's showcase from the previous night. That match was fun. It was short, but it was really fun. This match was not fun. This match was boring. Apparently Shayna Baszler, it looked like she tweaked her ankle or something at one point. She resurfaced late in the match and her boot was off and her tights were rolled up. Oh yeah, Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey were a non-factor in this whole match. Ronda, who's been nursing an arm injury of some kind for the last month or so, hasn't wrestled a match on TV in months, yet she got a WrestleMania match here. She swooped in right at the end after all the other women did their spots as well as they could have. She swoops in and she locks Shotzi in an armbar and gets the win. A very uneventful match. But it wasn't even the thing that pissed me off the most about this show. The thing that pissed me off about this show was twofold. Because after this match and before the triple threat, we had an appearance from the Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner, Bobby Lashley. They played his music and I got excited. I got happy. I was like, good. They bringing Bobby Lashley out here. He posted a clip on social media after the match on SmackDown, and he was saying how he was going to have an open challenge at WrestleMania, either of the nights. He didn't show up on night one, and I'm like, okay, I get that. He'll show up on night two. Here he is. They play his music, and then he comes out in his street clothes with the trophy just to wave to the crowd, smile big, clap, and then held up the trophy. And then he left, and it was on to the next segment. And that was all they did with the Almighty. Even still, I had some hope that he would come back out later. But no. Later on, they had yet another time filler segment with The Miz and Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg talking Miz into having yet another impromptu match. This time, they were interrupted by the returning Shane McMahon, who danced his way down to the ring, got in the ring. Snoop Dogg called for the bell. The match started. They're just bouncing off the ropes. It hasn't even gone like 15 or 20 seconds left yet. And then Miz does a drop down. Miz bounces off the ropes. Shane does a leapfrog over the Miz. and then he lands down and tweaks his knee. He tried to get back up, but then he immediately crumbled down, and he was down. Referee Jessica Carr, she was checking on him. Miz clearly looking like a deer in headlights because he had no idea what the hell just happened. Shane is down. And at first you think it's part of the show, but then the doctor comes in, and the way Shane is down, it looks very real. And apparently Shane McMahon blew out his knee. I haven't heard any updates on him since I started recording, but as you could tell, he blew out his knee. I saw fan cam footage on Twitter of him being helped out of the arena. Look, let me just say this first. It sucks. Shane McMahon, who has not been on WWE television since the Royal Rumble last year, that whole debacle where his father sent him home, we haven't seen him on television since then. And so this was his big return at WrestleMania. And he goes out there, he's about to have a WrestleMania rematch with The Miz, of all people. And just a couple seconds into the match, this is a man who's fallen off of scaffolds and big structures and Hell in a Cells and taking all these crazy bumps throughout his career. And yet all he did here was a simple leapfrog, and he blew out his knee. Now, this is a man who has not wrestled a match in over a year. This is a man who has never been a full-time wrestler, so it's understandable. But my thing is, it sucks that it happened. It really does suck that it happened. I hate to see anyone get injured on a show like this, but it shouldn't have been happening in the first place. Shane McMahon should not have been out there for this kind of segment in the first place, just like the Pat McAfee shit the previous night shouldn't have happened either. But it did. Luckily, no one got out of that match injured. Luckily, everyone was healthy coming out of that. But here, Shane McMahon comes out there for an impromptu match with The Miz that shouldn't have even been thought of in the first place. And here he is doing a simple leapfrog, and he blows his damn kneecap out. They were quick on their feet. Snoop Dogg got back in the ring. He knocked down The Miz. Miz got back up. He punched The Miz again. You could hear Jessica Carr relaying information to Snoop Dogg very loudly, telling him to do a people's elbow. There was a lot of loud spot calling all weekend, by the way, including that really great main event match from night one. I went back and watched that and heard that spot calling from Kevin Owens. So, I guess everybody's learning from John Cena. But she tells him to do the people's elbow. Snoop Dogg does the people's elbow. He poses for the crowd. The crowd's eating it up. They love it. They're not thinking, they're none the wiser. They love Snoop Dogg. They're playing nothing but G thing again. It was cool. I'm playing Snoop Dogg. He in California. Inglewood, all that shit. So cool. I like Snoop too. But I need to see this. None of this was necessary. And don't even get me started on the fact that Bobby Lashley, who was originally penciled in for WrestleMania in a match against Bray Wyatt. Once again, a match he had no business being a part of. He should not have been anywhere near a feud with Bray Wyatt. With how they were booking that feud up to that point, he had no business being involved in that. But that was the match that they had planned. And then whatever happened to Bray happened. He disappeared from TV without a single word mentioned of him. And so did Bobby Lashley, until he reappeared out of nowhere in a graphic promoting the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which he won. But then they had him go on Twitter. Was it his Twitter or if it was WWE's official Twitter account, whatever it was, and he openly announces that he is issuing a challenge for anyone on either night of WrestleMania, 2 nights of WrestleMania, to come out and face Bobby Lashley and step up to the almighty. And they don't do it. They instead have Bobby Lashley come out there and wave to the crowd like he's the finalist at a pageant, and then he just walks away. That sucked. LA Knight, the whole, you can't have an LA WrestleMania without LA Knight. Apparently you can. We had 2 nights of it, no LA Knight. Despite him getting thunderous ovations from the crowd on SmackDown a couple nights ago, no spot for LA Knight on this show. And there's so many other talents that I can mention. But the fact that you had time on a 2-hour show for a Miz match, Snoop Dogg, Shane McMahon, Pat McAfee, countless advertisements and commercials, and yet you couldn't spare a couple of minutes for a match for Bobby Lashley or an appearance and something to do for LA Knight. It's very disappointing. I'm very disappointed. That, among everything else on this show, that made me mad. And I hate to say that. I hate coming on here and having to rant like that. I know I shouldn't care that much. The problem is I do care. I care way too damn much. That's the issue. At the end of the day, when it comes to these things, I care too much because you can see how much better it could be. And for some of you listening to this right now, you could think, what the hell are you talking about, bro? This was great. I loved all of this. Everything on this show was perfect. What are you talking about? And to that, I say kudos to you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm sorry you listened to me ramble on for the last 35 minutes talking about how much I hated a lot of this stuff. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad it made you happy. I'm glad it satisfied you. I'm glad it made you as happy as night 1 made me happy. Some of you probably loved everything on night 2 and hated everything from night 1. You're well within your right. But for me, this is my platform. This is my little area here to vent, and I'm going to vent. As a fan who watches this stuff, just 24 hours ago, I'm recording a video talking about how proud I am to be a wrestling fan because of a show like WrestleMania Night 1. It's crazy. That is basically the complete inverse 24 hours later. It's like 2 completely different shows. I don't know whether to attribute that to Vince McMahon or what. I don't know how much influence Vince has. At the end of the day, as far as I know, as far as all of us know, because none of us truly know, as far as we know, Triple H is still the one making the creative decisions. At the end of the day, this was his vision. This was his decision making on this show. And when you look at this show, it's very disappointing. And that's it. You know, this was a fun weekend, a lot of really great wrestling. Night 1 of WrestleMania was so damn fun. It was such a fun show. Those last 2 matches, those last 2 championship matches are 2 of the best matches of the entire year. And I don't want to come on here and complain and rant and rave about this, but that's where I find myself. And I'm not taking it out on the performers. The performers, for the most part, everyone went out there and put on a damn good match. As best to their abilities as they could. Balor and Edge, they got stifled by the match stopping, but they still went out there and put on a good match. Bianca Belair and Asuka. Bianca Belair should be in the conversation of Miss WrestleMania. It's 3 years in a row this woman has had a fantastic championship match at WrestleMania. She belongs in that Miss WrestleMania conversation going forward. The triple threat, one of the best matches of the year. Excellent. One of the best Intercontinental Championship matches I've ever seen in my life. The main event was so good. Had such a great big fight feel to it. It was great until that finish. And everything else was either dull or unnecessary and pointless. And that's WrestleMania Night 2. Thank you for listening. If I scared you off with all the yelling, I apologize. Actually, no, I don't. It's my opinion. It's just my opinion. I'm sorry if you don't like it. I'm sorry if you don't agree. But I'm not going to apologize for feeling how I feel. But that's it for WrestleMania. WrestleMania 39, WrestleMania went Hollywood, and now it is in the books. We can look forward to the future. We have Raw tomorrow night. I'll be back here again for that review, going up early Tuesday morning. So be on the lookout for that. I'm tired, and there's still plenty of work left to do. So, check you guys later.